Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
Hi and welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. This show is here to give you help and practical tips and advice which will improve your management skill and get you the results you need. Make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode, and share it with anyone you think might benefit. Right, without any more delay, let's get on with this week's show. Welcome to this week's Manager Matt podcast show. I've had some great questions over the past month or two around leadership and management, and that's great. I mean, please, if you can, please keep sending me your questions, because part of this show is around educating people who are maybe new to management, old to management, any really management or leadership kind of exposure or experiences is always welcome on the show. And one theme that I seem to be getting a lot, which comes back and back and back, is that they're asking the question, how do I make a place where people stay in their work? And not just for months, but for years. You know, we know that there is a certain demographic of people who will be at a work for years and years and years, and you all know they are. They're the kind of the person who have been there, they've got the T-shirt, in fact they've made the printing press that printed the T-shirt, but there's others who come and go. Now, we know that jobs are not for life anymore. I mean, that has disappeared. I know when I first started work, and sometimes even now I bump into people who've done 30 and 40 years at one place, but it has changed, and the labour market has definitely changed. Especially in leadership positions, where you do find people have a 3 to 5 year cycle, and those are the ones who will move along after that time, usually looking for a promotion, looking for the next step and where they're going to go, or something to really give them the boost that they need. You also get the journeyman, if you like, if you use a boxing analogy, the ones who are going to be in there for maybe even 6 months, and then you've got your sort of skipping stones who are in, and they sometimes don't even make the probation before they get out there. But it's more important these days ever then to build a good team, and a good team needs team members who are motivated, committed to doing their best and getting the results. Now, they're not all going to be superstars. You know that. When you build a team, you're not going to get every single one of them being right at the top of those sort of triangles and pushing for promotion. But you do need to consider getting a team that's built around you, that can deliver the results, and making sure that they're there to stay and to be motivated. Because the cost of changing your team is massive. It's clearly massive. Not only the actual recruitment, which is a long process. If anyone's recruited anybody at the moment, it's a long process to do. But also the idea of when you do get someone, you've got to wait for them to go through their notice period. They've then got to get to work. You've got to induct them. You've got this ramp-up period. And as we've just said, some people, by the time they're ramping up, they're leaving. And then you've got that growth opportunity missed by your business, because when you're doing all that work, when you're training up people, there's obviously a chance that you're going to miss the opportunities around them that you get from a stable team. And of course, with those opportunities becomes growth. Growth means your business is going in the right direction. So there is a heck of a lot of things that goes to making sure you are keeping the best staff, and obviously making sure you've got the best team on the field. So let's have a look at what I think are the key points to making sure that you can keep the best people working for you. Now, they're not exhausted, so, you know, and there is a little bit of crossover between the elements of it, but I've got 8 what I think are the key things. So what I think is the first one, and it's a bit of a contentious one, but I'll run through them first, is pay, benefits, package, location, all those things. They've got to be competitive. Then the second point is being challenged in work. Third point is about promotions or opportunities for promotion. The fourth one is growth and involvement. The fifth one is about being appreciated at work. Then it's trust, then empowered, and then value. So let's talk it through. So pay and things like pay, benefits, package, location, all those need to be competitive. Now, I'm not saying best in everything. It's great if you can pay the best value for all your staff, and you do want to make sure you benchmark as much as you can around your local area, around your industry, to make sure that you are paying the right one. But pay gets you up and through the door. It doesn't really mean you're going to add a lot when you're there, because I know a lot of people in my past who have been paid a lot of money and are still to this day didn't know what they actually did for the business, but they'd been there and they'd been paid and that was fine. Of course, they'll always say, what's enough? It's never enough. But there is a point where you've got to make sure you're being competitive and balanced in the approach around pay, but it's not always about the money. And I think the older you get, the more that really does ring true, because it's around maybe more time off, more flexibility, more the idea of being able to do less hours, for instance, as you get older, which can mean that you can keep really good team members, because those guys want to have a little bit of more flexibility in their work, maybe 4-day weeks, things like that, especially when they're coming up to retirement. So there's bonuses. Some people live for bonuses. I've never really done that. It's always been a bonus is a bonus, which is exactly what you should be doing. Never buy a swimming pool because you've got a bonus coming, because it'll never come. But things like that, pensions. Pensions again, have you got a good scheme that pays in, a contributory pension that matches yours? In the UK, we're very lucky around having the NHS, but of course medical insurance is becoming more and more important to people as a benefit for them, because although you do pay tax in the UK on it, having medical insurance in the current crisis around the NHS and the fact that people are getting older and you will get sicker makes a big difference when you're there. And some medical insurances also cover family, so that can be a big incentive. And of course, where you work, because that's really important. And of course, the days of the 9 to 5 in the office have changed immensely over the last 3 years, but that's an important place of where you are working and how you were working. So that's the first thing that I think is get right to make sure that you're keeping people. Then you're into things like challenging. So what are we doing about challenging people? Getting the right stress. Now, I know that sounds negative. Everyone's got a negative feeling about the word stress, but not all stress is bad. You need to remember that as a leader. You need to stress your people to let them grow. If you go to the gym, you have to push bigger weights to get your muscles to grow, and that's the right balance of stress. And same as when you're exercising, you can do too much, and it's same with the stress of challenging people. Make sure that they're challenged enough to get them out of that comfort zone, because you've got to be very careful. It becomes boring. If you put too much on the fact that it's steady, easy, then your team become bored. They start having a lot of time on their hands to look outside. They can have their heads turned by other organisations, especially with LinkedIn being so prevalent to going and stroking your ego, saying, oh, have you seen this job? Do you fancy this job? So you need to push your team and make sure they're not too bored. So you're looking at that sweet spot in that middle. So away from the comfort zone, but out enough to have a challenge around it. And be brave and challenge your team to get the best results. And that might be asking them to do things outside their norm, working with new people, taking on projects, all linked into their performance plan for the year and all linked into growing the business going forward. Third on my list is promotion. Now, promotion, again, is something that people maybe don't want to do. You can't have everyone being promoted. You can't have everyone wanting to be the next managing director or the next lead. There is a point where you want to have promotion, but you need to give people chance to take them next steps and be promoted inside their teams, even if it's a step to the side. And it goes hand in hand with the fact of being challenged. So promotion of some form or a talent matrix and a talent plan is really important for us as a business to keep that. And also make sure you tell people that they are on this talent plan. A number of times that people are not told they're on a talent plan, then they leave and you go, well, you were my talent. We've identified you. Well, it's all right identifying you, but if you don't tell me, I'm not a mind reader. So look at that promotion talent plan as number 3. Number 4 is about involved. Being part of the whole. The more you look into this subject, the more that you think that people are always bought into being involved in that bigger picture. They don't want just to be drones that turn up and do the job. Every level wants to be involved. They want to be engaged around the productivity. They want to understand what the business is going and where it's going to get to. I want to look at the visions and the values of that business. We're always focused on the day-to-day in operations especially, and in supply chain and in technical and all those elements. But let's focus sometimes on where we're heading and give those people that insight into the future. By doing that, you're involving them, you're getting their ideas, you're creating pathways, and you're involving a lot of mental brain knowledge which can push your business forward. Number 5 on my list is about being appreciated. Now that means, about the fact that it doesn't mean it's all about getting big prizes and kudoses, but it's that fact of, making sure that you have got the right people being thanked for the work they do. Not just thank you for thank you's sake, not just ticking a box that says I've done a recognition, but, they always say saying sorry is the hardest word, but I think thank you seems to be missed sometimes. And as I said, it's not the fake, it's got to be genuine. Yes, of course, you've got to go and do your job. You've got to do the X, Y, and Z. But do you really appreciate the person? Do we say thank you? And that can be as easy as, like, I've had a really busy week, guys, get sent off now. I think we're done. You're finished. Sorry, I'll translate from Yorkshire. We've finished. We've had a great day. You may finish early and go home. Hope that helps. But yeah, work in that idea of being appreciative of your team. There is the nice things you can do. You can have the sandwiches at some breakfasts day. You can do pizza days. Those are lovely little add-ons. But just the appreciation of thank you for a great job. Thank you for being there goes a massive way to retaining staff. Trusted is my next point. So if we go to point number 6, is about being trusted. Not watched over. Nobody wants that. You've got to set parameters. You need to give people the lane that they're working in. But you need to trust them to complete their job. You expect them to do it, then what's the reason they're not doing it? They should be trusted to get the stuff done. And if you've worked on the ones above around the idea of them being involved and appreciated, then that trust element fits lovely in there, that they're trusted day to day to get the work done. You don't need to be standing over them. You expect them to do a role, they get it done. Next point, if we can move on now, so moving into point 7, this is around being empowered. So you've got the trust, that's right. Now you need to empower them, not just to do the right things, but to do the right things at the right time to get the right results for your business. We all play our part. Every single person in every business shows up and plays their part, but you just don't want them showing up. You want them to turn up and turn on and switch on and get the work done. And that's about empowering them to do that. So that works on things like the idea of giving them the trust, empowering them to do the work, and then giving them the feedback when it's needed. And that links into one of the next points and the last point here, which is around being valued. We know what these people achieve. We have to work together and celebrate together. So you need to make sure that people feel valued in the business. So that means that when they come to work, they want to be there, they want to be involved, and they actually feel that they are completely valued as an even member of the team. Long gone are the days of some of the hierarchy I've seen. There is always going to be some sort of hierarchy in a business because you do need leaders to make decisions, and I've said that a few times on the podcast. But you also need to make sure that people feel valued, that their contribution to those points means that they get the work done. And when the stuff hits the fan, and we all know we've had days like that, you want to be able to look around your team and say, wow, we've got a team here that's going to make this happen. They're going to stay back. They're going to put the F in. They're going to get us over the line because they have hit all those points that they know. They know that when they come to work that they are being paid fairly. They know they're being challenged. They know they're going to get a chance of promotion because they feel they've got talent. We know they're being involved in the whole. They know it. We're going to appreciate them. We're going to trust them to deliver results, and we're going to empower them to make sure that those results stick. And then we're going to value them as individuals and as people. As I said, these are not exhausted. These are what I would think are the main drivers to make sure we keep the people that we need in our businesses day in, day out. Because if you don't have the people, and most of you on this call, on this podcast, will know that you're normally not the doers. You're normally the people now as leaders who are relying on others to do the work, to get things over the line. And it's important that they are doing that day in, day out. So you need to make sure that you've got a good team that's built around you, that you've made, as I've said, all them other points work for you. By doing that, you will deliver the results you need to your boss. The business will grow and invest and move forward. And that is really the key to making sure we have a really good job, focused people staying at your work. Well, thanks for listening. And as always, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on the show, both good and bad. So please send me your feedback, as it's a gift, to managermattpodcast@gmail.com. Remember, I've answered this email that you've been sent through, and I've managed to make a whole show just answering one of my listeners' questions. So be really keen to engage on new topics and old ones. And remember, please put what you've learnt today into action, because you don't get nothing from nothing. Right, well, that's it for Manager Matt this week. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful and actionable. One last thing, please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider, as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast, and if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.